Good morning. My name is William. Somebody will probably fill you in on that later, what that's all about. I called Charlotte the other day and I said, is it possible we could take your 20 minutes of thunder and do the presentation from our trip to Guatemala? And she said, yeah, that'd be great. Now, I know you all come to church to hear a sermon that inspires you and gives you something to take home with to think about for the rest of the week. But I think we're going to give you something that not only will inspire you, but probably give you something to think about for the rest of your life. I think at this time I'd like to introduce this group of people that you helped send to Guatemala. Can I have you stand? We might be all here. I think we're all here. Over here on my far right is Bruce Dewing. Cecilia Dewing's husband. We're glad to have him with us. Chad is with us. You all know Chad Kirshner from our church. Shayla Dickerson. Next to her is Julie Seeger, Crystal Deck, Bonnie Magnetti. We've got Lori Tellison up front and June Hauger. I'm going to stumble on all of these folks. And of course, Matt and Michelle Mead. And I think we have one, and we have David Hibbert. And we have Scott standing in the corner. And there's only one missing, and that was Nick Chochi. And that's Sheila's son, and he's up in Salt Lake City, so he flew a different direction when we all came home, but he joined us also. So I guess we're all here. All right, good to know. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to June, and she's going to tell you about this mission trip that we took to visit the people in the Pokomchi.
And I just want to mention real quick, Dan was supposed to be part of our team. I don't know how many of you know that he got sick 2 days before we were supposed to leave, thanks to his sons. So we had an exit plan for him if he got better, but he didn't. He got strep throat. So maybe next time Dan will join us, we hope. Anyway, I'm just giving you a background on Hope of the Pokomchi and ASOSAP, which is who we served in Guatemala. The daily reality of the Pokomchi people of Alto Verapaz, Guatemala, is one of extreme poverty. While poverty is a national problem in Guatemala, the poverty rates are the highest among indigenous groups like the Pokomchi, which can exceed 90%. ASOSAP, with funding from Hope of the Pokomchi donors, partners with the Mayan Pokomchi people to help them reach their God-given potential by providing them with ideas and resources through integrated community health, gospel outreach, integrated community development, and capacity building and empowerment. Hope of the Pokomchi is a U.S. 501c3 established in 2009 as a support organization for Association Socompal Pocom, ASOSAP, which is easier to say. A registered national nonprofit in Guatemala established in 2004. The name in the Pokomchi language means light of the Pokomchi. ASOSAP's day-to-day business is administered by our Pokomchi staff. And I'm going to reference the people in the photo you see up there who were with us last week. Victor is, on the far left, is the caretaker of the Shekina compound. He and his father-in-law switch off and are there 24/7 to make sure everything stays okay there. And next we have Delia, who's one of our nurses. And for this last week, she was in charge of the kitchen and food prep for our team, which was astounding. And she also works with Consuelo, our head nurse. Sebastian is next. He's Glenda's husband and one of our staff in charge of projects. Glenda, next to him, is the administrator in charge of the ASOSAP office. This is in a Latin country where we have the person running our office is a female, which is huge to begin with. And she's totally capable. Next we have Alvaro, who is the other staff member in charge of projects and the husband of Consuelo. Sonia, who coordinates the Pocomaya Women's Artisan Group and the English classes and other activities in the villages. And Rebecca, who is our Canadian volunteer, she wears many hats, among them teaching the Building My Horizons Children after-school program that runs for 6 months. And she is the liaison with the mission teams who come in. Missing from the photograph is Consuelo, our chief nurse overseeing our health clinic and our chronic patients. Consuelo is currently undergoing treatment for stomach cancer, and all prayers for her are welcome. Mission teams traveling to Alto Verapaz are vital to help the staff complete water tank, latrine, and cook stove projects, as well as participating in the outreach to the many children in the remote villages with English classes and other activities which are otherwise not available to them. The mission statement for both of these organizations is, motivated by Christ's love, we partner with the Mayan Pokomchi people of Alto Verapaz, Guatemala, helping them move toward their God-given potential. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me. Matthew 25:40. So thank you for supporting our mission team in this vital endeavor. And now I want to introduce Shayla, who will talk about the Shekina activities. And we renamed her Shayla last week because Sheila in Pokomchi is chair. So we're going with Spanish, right? Thank you.
Shekina is a Hebrew word that means dwelling and is used in Judaism to describe God's presence in the world. It's also the name of ASOSAP Center where we stayed. Shekina sits on 2 tree-filled acres outside of San Cristobal Verapaz. There are 2 dorm rooms, each with 6 bunk beds, men's and women's bathrooms with 2 showers, and each started off with 2 flushing toilets. The women's went down to 1 flushing toilet towards the end of the trip. There are small rooms for the staff to sleep in when the teams are there. There's an office and a large room that's used for classes and seminars. Our meals and all of our downtime were spent under a long tinned roof, imagine like a portico or a lanai that was right off from the classrooms in our dorm rooms. And they were set up with long banquet tables, plastic chairs. I think we probably owe them about 3 or 4 plastic chairs. And they were always covered with tablecloths and just bright cheery colors. Our mornings started early. If you had 5:30 a.m. kitchen duty, everyone in your dorm room also woke up at 5:30. But they didn't have to get up, and they could hopefully fall back to sleep for a little more. We would then trickle out of our rooms to make our sack lunches by 7, peanut butter and jelly every day. But we welcomed it because we were hungry. And then a quick but delicious breakfast, and then we would split up to depart by 7:30 or 8 in the morning to our assigned jobs. At the end of the day, we would collect back at Shekina. Some might have a 45-minute, somewhat treacherous truck drive back. And a lot of us had to take motion sickness pills in the morning and perhaps at night just to get back. When we would collect back at Shekina, we would take showers, which were very welcome. We would sit at the tables outside in the lanai and talk about our day's events. We would be on our phones, either playing solitaire to get some quiet time, text message back home. Thank God for Wi-Fi at Shekina. And then some that had international service would walk around the property to get the best possible spot for cell service so they might make a call back home. There's a lot of street dogs in San Cris, and one of the pictures that was up when June was speaking, the unmentioned member of the staff was in front, and that's the dog Tomasa. They call those dogs chuchos? Chuchos. I now recognize that Tomasa was not just on the property for security, because she would announce everyone that arrived or was near the property, but she was also our therapy dog. So the ladies, we were all very grateful, and I don't think anyone was privy to our pack list when we left. The ladies had to work in long skirts, have our sleeves, our arms covered up, our shoulders, and if you have never worked in a long skirt and tall rubber boots, I don't recommend it. It's not pleasant. So when we got back to Shekina, we were able to put on our Americana clothes. We also had the luxury of returning to the flushing toilets where we could sit down, fantastic, I didn't expect a leg workout every day I was in the field. And we could also have what I now consider paper gold, or toilet paper. Michelle Mead will finish.
Each night, we would gather and have a buffet-style dinner. We would also eat with the staff, which was very nice because we were able to get to know them a little bit better. After dinner, we would once again return to kitchen duty to clean all of our said plates and cups, and get everything ready for the next day for the morning 5:30 breakfast crew. We would grab showers throughout the evening. Like Sheila mentioned, there were only 2, so we were like, okay, who's going next? It was a lot of shuffling around, but it was a lot of fun. We would drink the amazing Guatemala coffee, which I highly recommend, so June has plenty. Ask her if you want some. We also were all exposed for the first time, or at least me for the first time, our new favorite drink, Flora de Jamaica, or hibiscus tea. If you've never had it before, it is quite delicious. People volunteered to hold our nightly devotional, which was a great time for sharing. After the devotional, we would break off in small groups, talk about what the devotional meant to us or how the day's events impacted us, and that was always very impactful. There might be a cribbage game, others would read. We brought a couple of brain-teasing puzzle games that had quite a few people in I don't know, angst, trying to figure out, how does this work? Others would read, we'd break off and have our alone time. Either way, everybody found what they needed at the end of the day. The last night, Sheila, our token fashion queen, brought a little thing of nail polish, and we did all of the nails of the lady staff members, which was quite a treat. One day, June and I were able to do hair and nails for all the girls in an outreach event, and it was quite fun. We had lots of laughter, lots of conversation, some tears at times. It helped us process the events and emotions from the day. Everyone was respectful of everyone's personal space and our personal differences. We functioned as a small village. We helped each other find misplaced water bottles, sharing the occasional Advil or other painkillers, bug spray, etc. It was fun to see the 14 of us come together with the 6 staff, and don't forget Tomasa, to become a family of 21, our Shekina family.
Scott come up and tell you about some of these great projects we worked on. Have that.
Good morning. So thanks again for supporting this project, or this expedition. We did 3 primary projects when we were out there and a couple secondary or follow-up projects. The biggest project, we built 2 water storage tanks. We should have pictures up there at some point. The main tank held about 1,000 gallons of water. The secondary held about a couple hundred gallons of water, and then there was a sink in which they could wash their clothes, wash their dishes. These are homes that have no power, no water. Usually the kids of about 10 to 12 strap on 3 to 5 gallon containers on their back, held with their forehead, walk down the hill, fill it up, walk back up, and they'd have to do that numerous times. They did it once while we were there when we were running low on water. They've got an array or a row of water storage bins and barrels, but when those are empty, they have to go down the hill. So, water storage cisterns are amazing and really life-changing for these people. So we got to install 2 of those. And when we got there, there was nothing, there was just bare dirt, and we cut the trenches, laid this concrete bricks, poured the concrete, did the rebar, finished them off just beautifully. And it was an amazing experience for all who participated in those. The next project we did was we installed a latrine. As Sheila and Michelle mentioned or referenced, their facilities are very difficult. And I think I have a picture of one of them up there. So what we did is we dug a bigger pit, reinforced it, put cinder block foundation, and then a nice concrete slab about 3 by 5, and then a metal and corrugated tin walls and roof. So much nicer facilities that even we would be comfortable using, I think. Let's see. The third one we did, we installed 2 stoves, and I might get. That was it. I'll try to get through this. We installed 2. Okay. We installed 2 stoves in a house. There are 4 generations of people in this facility, a main structure, and then several smaller structures.
They're shacks, really.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
we call it
it's
a
a
house,
shack.
it's a shack.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do this. All right, so the first one was up in the front. It had a roof, low walls, and the stoves that they use, they all use wood stoves, wood burning stoves, and in most cases the smoke just goes into the room. So their ceilings are covered with soot and black and disgusting. These stoves that we installed, they're newer, they're lightweight, so they can move around if needed, and most importantly, they've got ducting to get the smoke outside of the house. Amazing. So then, we went to the back room. Okay, it was a 15 by 20 room. It was the home of a single mom and her 3 kids. The stove was made out of wood. The legs, the platform, all made out of wood. As we prepared to install our new stove, some of the men picked it up and slid it aside. It collapsed, and all these bugs just disappeared. I mean, it was disgusting. So we finally got to the task of installing the stove. Looked amazing. We had it ducted to go outside. Fantastic. And then our Sebastian, our lead and project manager, he was looking up and I see there's a leaky, the ceiling, the corrugated tin had some holes in it, and it could leak and rust the stove. And then we started looking at it more, and there are thousands of holes in this corrugated tin roof. Thousands. Every time it rained, they had to cover up their beds, cover up their papers, cover up their food. We just didn't know how they could survive in there. So Alvaro said, hey, I just replaced my roof recently. I have some spare corrugated tin. And we drove out, grabbed 10 sheets, came back, and Sebastian, both of them were Sebastian. And he installed 10, 12-foot pieces of corrugated tin on top of the old, and we believe 2 hours later, when we had a big, major storm, they were dry inside their house. Yeah, so that's it. So amazing, and it led to a bunch of other projects, but yeah, it was amazing. Oh, and you saw some of the pictures, some of the projects in Shekina. They painted, they cleaned, yeah, a lot of good stuff. So, and a lot of laughs, as you can see there. So next, I'm gonna ask Lori to come up and talk about some of the things that we did with those amazing kids.
Hello. We all got a chance with the children there, and there was 2 different places that we worked with them, in the field and in the classroom. In the field was with Sonia, a teacher that reaches out to the communities and is out there quite a bit. And the first day after a cultural time, we ended up going down to a building that's part of a school, and we brought crafts and games and prizes. It was like a VBS, but on steroids. The excitement and joy and curiosity was bursting at the seams. The kids were playing ball with a tiny, tiny ball. They were playing soccer, and they were going crazy. And then Sonia said, hey, let's take out the big ball that David brought, and we brought out a full-size soccer ball, and it was a hit. It was just crazy. You'll see it probably in some of the videos. We also got overran at the bracelet making table. The word got out about all these beads and treasures that you could get. I saw them putting them in their pockets, and they were, you know, I figured, okay, they're gonna make them at home. But we finally had to ask for help because Sheila and I were being overran. We couldn't even hardly talk. So Sonia came and had to shut it down for the time because it was too wild. But anyway, the next thing, the next place that we spent time with the kids was actually in the field, was in an old shack where quite a few of our team spent time forming teaching circles with 4 different teachers in the same room. Again, the kids were so excited. They are so poor and don't have much, but they have so much in their spirit and curiosity and desire to learn. It was so heartwarming to be with them. In the classroom with Rebecca, the teacher that has at the Shekina Center, the building where My Horizons classes were taught. This is where we showed up the first day, and this is where we learned that Bruce is really William. They were teaching an English class, and part of the class is to go around and introduce yourself. So they were introducing themselves, and William, a young man who's a shining star, he is going somewhere for sure. He's gonna get a scholarship and go somewhere. Anyway, he and Bruce started talking because Bruce let him know that his name was William too. So all week and from then on, Bruce was William. So, and then, so anyway, at those classes with the 10 children, they're like sponges. They soaked up every bit of knowledge they could. It was bringing me to tears to see their desire and pursuit of education. Their lives will be so much better if they learn English, and they will have so many more opportunities. And I thank you so much for the chance to go and be with these people. Thank you.
You know, we could probably go on for weeks and weeks talking about this because I have to tell you, it truly does impact your soul. You can see what it did to Scott. And that guy doesn't break very often, so obviously. Let's take a minute and see if we could have each one of the members, if you could just give a minute of your reaction to this experience you had down there. Who would like to start? Stand up and tell us what you came back with. What impacted you? Julie.
You want me to just talk from here?
As loud as you can.
So I'm very new to the group, and some of our members are very curious, like, how did you get here? Like, how come you're with us? And but my take home from it, I mean, not only all the emotions, but the teamwork and the comradeship and the love that everybody had, and the one mission to do the same thing, and the faith that everyone was like guided by and motivated by. And it was a family like I had never experienced, and it also spoke volumes for this congregation. So that was my take.
I think we got a microphone. Who else? Lonnie.
It's really kind of overwhelming. The poverty was like nothing I've ever seen in my life. I couldn't have imagined. It just brings you to tears. The children, like we mentioned, were just so heartwarming and so eager to learn and so eager to please. I've been thinking about it since I got home, and I wasn't building latrines or water tanks or installing stoves. I was working with the kids, but what I came away with and what I've been thinking about all week is that I can't solve all the problems in Guatemala or in the rest of the world, but I can do something. We can all do something. And that's just what I came home with, is that I want to do something. I want to continue to somehow serve. I don't know if it'll mean ever going back, but there's things we can do here, and we all can do something. And that was really the biggest thing I think that I got out of it going forward.
Thank you, Bonnie. Boy, that's not the truth. Who else? Anybody else want to say something?
So this was my 8th mission trip to Guatemala, and but it's been many years, and going back is a different area, and I was didn't know what to expect, but it moved me the same way it did the first time. All I can say is that if you've ever felt like you're an empathetic person, it's nothing compared to what you feel when you're with people whose income is less than $5 a day, with children who can only go to school through 6th grade. That's as far as public education funds. That every person, and especially every Christian, should find a way to do some kind of trip like this. Maybe not to Guatemala, because it's difficult and expensive, but somewhere where you can serve. And this church is, and one of the reasons Gail and I joined this church was that we're so moved by its motivation to serve Christ in the community. And to feel it beyond, to feel in another country where we were able to make a difference in the lives of these people. The children had so much joy. They didn't know they were poor. They jump in your lap. They wanted to be held. They wanted to celebrate with you. If you can find a way to do it, find a way. Thank you so much for supporting us in our trip. And this church made a huge difference in Guatemala this last 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, we don't want to take more than our 20 minutes, so we're being very sensitive to this. And we're all going to go down to the Mix and Mingle, which I think they're going to have a cake for us, so thank you. And we'll be able to answer any more questions you have. But let's open up for a few questions and answers right now if we can. Anybody have a question?
How did you get water up to the cisterns and toilets and everything else with their pumps?
They're located, the cisterns are usually located within a few feet of the gutters of the house. So the rain comes down the house, into the gutters, and then into the main tank.
So there were no wells, there were no streams. This was water coming from the sky. It goes into their gutters and it fills those tanks. Now there are some streams, but those streams slow down when there's no rain.
How did you pick this area? Who picked this mission?
Well, June, you want to answer that?
My sister and brother-in-law founded Hope of the Pokomchi in 2009, and they had helped ASOSAP become a nonprofit in Guatemala in 2004, and they've worked with indigenous people for most of their lives. So that's how the connection came with me, because I've been the Chief Financial Officer, very exciting title, basically accepting the donations for the U.S. Hope of the Pokomchi that supports ASOSAP. So that's how we came upon going there. And I want to say one other thing. You saw our t-shirts? Yeah. We found these in the market in San Cristobal. Antigua. Did God send these to us or what?
Any other questions?
So we saw a lot of the slides showing the children, and some of the helpers looked to be indigenous people. But what about the adults of the village? Were they there? Do the adults work somewhere else during the day for that $5 a day income? Where were the adults?
Well, when we were teaching English, the only adults that I saw there, other than our Pokomchi teacher that was with us, the only other adults there were mothers who were coming to watch what was going on. So there was usually like 5 or 6 mothers. A couple of days, a couple of the male teachers that they have during their regular classrooms came and opened up a classroom for us to let us in. But I didn't see any other adults around, so they're either finding work.
The ice cream man.
They were probably working.
They're working, and from what I understood, for this woman we were talking about that got the new cook stove, she works in a field for $3 a day. So there's lots of cornfields. They plant the corn by hand. So when you see the cornfields, they just go up the sides of the mountains. So these people are out there pulling weeds and working in the cornfields. So
Well, and also, when we did the 2 stoves in the family's shacks, the entire family was there, the 4 generations. So there was the Grand Padre was there, and he didn't really have, he had no teeth, you know, he's kind of hunched over, but he was the most gracious host. He was pulling out chairs. I don't know where these chairs were coming from. And insisting like that we sit down, because at one point my son leans over. I mean, it was hot. You're in this 12 by 15 dirt floored shack with holes in the walls and holes in the ceilings. And we're sitting on these, you know, rickety chairs, and you're trying to make it level. You're trying to make it level. They bring out these 3-liter bottles of Coca-Cola. I don't really drink Coca-Cola, but you better believe I drank that Coca-Cola. You know, we're all drinking out of either a coffee mug or a cup. And so the entire family's there, and they have like chickens running in and out of the house. I mean, and that's just the daily occurrence. But for that family, there were adults there. They were so grateful for everything that we did. The joy on the mom's face when she was able to, as soon as that stove was in place and they lit the fire to make sure that it worked and the chimney worked, she had a bucket of masa there, and she immediately started making tortillas for the family. I mean, they were so grateful and gracious for everything that we did. So the adults were present, but we were mostly interacting with the kids.
I know we're running up against the hour, but Bruce asked me to explain a little bit about the requirements of when folks get these water tanks. The place that Julie and Nick and I served, if anybody's done Training Hill, it's half of Training Hill. It's half a mile and 400 foot in elevation. They have to bring all of their material. The requirement of getting a tank is they have to carry every brick, every pound of concrete, every pound of sand, every piece of rebar from the delivery point at the road all the way up to their house. So the father and his brother-in-law, we were there one day, we were bringing 2 100-pound bags of cement, and he strapped the whole thing on his back from his forehead. I think one of the pictures were up there. And that's how they bring all of the material up. There was about 5 to 10 yards of sand that they had to carry up the hill before the project could start. We had about 50 or 75 cinder blocks that they had to carry up the hill. And this was steep terrain, rutted out. They're doing it in, whether it's dry or rain. Just amazing. I want to say more, but we're running out of time.
okay, I think we're going to.
So this is a video that we asked the ASOSAP team to present. Yeah, we got to know them really well, and they're just amazing people. They're amazing people doing amazing work. And prior to us going there, June did her best at sharing the experience and sharing the information about the program, what was Pokomchi, ASOSAP, what we're going to be doing. But man, once we were there, it just hit us in the face. So here's their thanks to us.
Buenos días a todos, mi nombre es Rebecca y es un gusto saludarlos. Terminale Sonia y Ruka Golita y Shakusterta Kikajarita Patenamita Pokor.
Mi nombre es Sebastián, fue un gusto conocerlos y un placer servirles y compartir con cada uno del equipo.
Edwina Glenda, Panimari Tawani Kishanta, de Okahau Okay, hello, wala watak.
Endios!
One of the things that they asked for them to do was to speak in their native tongues. Delia, second from the rank, spoke in Kechi. And then Sonia and Delia spoke in Pokomchi. And then Rebecca and Sebastian spoke in Spanish. So you got all three flavors. And that was a whole other part of the trip was communication. And it was so much fun. And, yeah.
So we thank you, the church, for sending us down there. What a great experience for the 14 of us. We will never forget. But we thank you, June, for taking us down there too. So we got a little gift for you. Whether we do another mission trip to Guatemala, or whether this church continues to support the Pokomchi, Hope of the Pokomchi, or whether you feel inclined to give money, that's not what this is about today. What this is about is think about the things that you take for granted. When you go home today, you're going to walk into your kitchen with its nice tile, wood, vinyl floor. These people are living on dirt. Look at your cook stove. These people are lighting a fire in their room. Smoke. Take a look at the roof above your head. These people have corrugated tin with rust and holes in it. And when they want to drink water, they go in the backyard and they dip a bucket of water out of a 50-gallon drum. That's their drinking water. So think about that. The Hope of the Pokomchi is only one organization that's trying to make lives better for other people. There are thousands of people going without food, without clean water, without education, without medication. Thank you.
How about you all stand up, look at the congregation, and we'll do a homecoming blessing. So if you, all the Guatemala, everybody. Creator God, we are blessed to have this group in our midst. This group is a part of our family. We are blessed by the stories. We are blessed by the conviction. We ask that blessings abound from the things that have happened on the trip, the changes in their lives, for seeing the face of Christ in each other. We thank you for these moments, these missions. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Please be seated. So if you were never